Who's ready to win the day in sports? I know you are. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com, Monday through Friday, noon to 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm Justin Fensterman, and let's break everything down from a fantasy sports perspective. What is going on, everybody? My name is Justin Fensterman, and welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily here on the Elite Plus Network, powered by FantasyGuru.com, where you can find all of my work. I do a lot of NBA coverage for the site, but also do football coverage too, including heading up our injury report, which comes out every single Friday, very extensive, both sides of the ball, fantasy impact and all, and updated throughout the weekend, even Sunday morning. Give it a look over and a comb over as well, which is interesting because, as you can imagine, as you know by now, I don't really have much hair to comb over. So it's the articles that get that kind of attention from yours truly. Ray Flowers hosts Fantasy Sports Daily Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, noon Eastern, all week long. Free stream for all of you. Pretty much us reaching out from you for FantasyGuru.com so you can become part of the Elite Mafia. And you can become part of the Elite Mafia, including a buy one, get one right there. Jeff Mans was talking about it on the Elite Sports Show on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. You can hear that all week, 2 p.m. Eastern, Channel 87. You buy DFS, you get betting. You buy betting, you get DFS. 2 for the price of 1. Limited time offer. FantasyGuru.com to find all of our plans. I'll give you a little link too. I always like to do that as well, just to make sure, hey, you may be sitting there, you're not part of the Elite Mafia. Maybe you've got some friends that have been riding with the Mafia for the last few years. Boom. There's where you sign up to become part of the Mafia right there. Support at FantasyGuru.com to get in on any of those deals as well. So with that in mind, going to talk about a lot of things that I got a lot on the mind agenda. Midweek, I start looking at the week 3 matchups. A big monster week when it comes to quarterback, because I know that there are a few of you out there, and I'm very interested because are there a lot of you that have waivers pass through Tuesday into Wednesday versus Wednesday into Thursday? Because I just feel like a lot of site defaults, including my home league, Tuesday into Wednesday. So there are still a few of you that are making claims right now. Going to talk about a few of those players. Also, want to give some attention to you guys out there who lost Joe Burrow, because it sucks. It really sucks. We've had a few days now, and we had a couple of days to kind of think about it a little bit. But the worst thing we can do at this point in the season is overreact. Trade your entire team for a quarterback. Here's the bottom line. Unfortunately, for those that lost Joe Burrow, and I lost him too. I lost Joe Burrow in 2 leagues, including a league where I kept him as a keeper. And now I pretty much have to decide, because it is a keeper league and it's a league with big benches. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But now I've got to decide if I lose one of my amazing running backs or wide receivers, let's just say, to the IR, because I get the one IR spot. Now what do I do? Because every spot is critical on your bench, especially when you lose a player. It's like Joe Burrow, not just any player, but a player that you spent meaningful draft capital on. And anyone that's had Joe Burrow in the past knows just how amazing of a fantasy talent Joe Burrow is, despite not really having that rushing ability that you see a lot of the other quarterbacks have that were drafted in his range. That was the big difference there. He'll throw you a million touchdowns, has the weapons to do so. The offense as well with the Bengals, I mean, that defense isn't going to be helping them, doing them any favors. So that offense is going to be playing from behind. I mean, obviously, I say all this. You listen to Jeff Mans on the Elite Sports Show, again, 2 p.m. Eastern today. Jeff and Ray Flowers be hosting the program for all of you. Be taking your calls as well, and that's 888-963-2682. You can also hit us up in Discord. I'm at Fensty Sports on X and Instagram, by the way, FENSTY Sports. But like I was saying, the worst thing that you can do is trade your entire team for a quarterback. Because here's the problem right now. This week, when it comes to the position, the market is very cornered. Whether you're looking to make a trade, whether you're looking to make a big pickup, there are multiple quarterbacks that are unfortunately hurt. Burrow on the IR. We don't know when we're going to see him. Let's stop right there and talk about that for a second. For those that don't have an IR spot, want to hold Joe Burrow. Oh, well, maybe he'll be back for week 15, week 16. You might not be there for week 15 and 16. Not to sound morbid, but your team could be well under 500 and you can be out of it. That's why I'm telling you that you can't, for those that have Joe Burrow, it's a minimum of 3 months post-surgery. Minimum. Where are the Bengals going to be? I mean, yeah, we saw Jake Browning be able to hit up Jamar Chase a little bit, and T. Higgins, but Browning's also throwing picks. This defense sucks. They're going to be preyed on, Cincinnati. Cincinnati, I hate to say this, in a way, is kind of running things like Don Nelson used to do when he'd run Nelly Ball. The Mavs, the Warriors, all offense. Race to 125 wins the game. No, that's the thing with Cincinnati. They got to get that defense up. And so teams, especially the good ones, are going to be preying on them up by multiple scores. And yes, Browning is going to have to throw them back into games. But if they're well under 500, they're not bringing back Joe Burrow. They're a few games under. They don't have a shot. I mean, look at their division. They don't have a shot at that point when it's week 11, week 12. You don't think that they're just going to decide to shut them down? Of course they will. Absolutely. Now, if they're within striking distance of a playoff spot, again, we're talking 3 months. So he comes back week before Christmas holidays. Okay, you're going to then, especially for those that don't have an IR spot, you're going to spend that time and you're just going to waste that roster spot right there. You can't think too long-term like that anymore. We've lost that luxury. And when you lose that luxury, you can either go all in and make a trade where you're giving up a hell of a lot of depth and you have to hope that everything goes right. It's football. Very hard for everything to go right. And for your entire team, meaningful draft picks go ahead unscathed. Very hard to do. You have to go into it thinking that you're probably going to lose a player for a couple of weeks, a meaningful player for a couple of weeks. Keeps you sharp, keeps you in the game. So I bring all this up because this morning in my keeper league, I lost Joe Burrow. And this morning, my keeper league hasn't been good. I'm 0-2 to start the season. I'm getting crushed, unfortunately. And just the team not working out well. Been in this position before. Now I lost Joe Burrow. And here's the problem here. I mean, thinking about even a year from now, all the great quarterbacks are going to be kept at this point. So now the big question for me is whether or not I keep Joe Burrow going into next season. Okay, that's a while away. But now for the rest of the year, I know that this league where you have most of the participants hoarding, because there are heavy benches in this keeper league, hoarding multiple quarterbacks, including there's a rule where rookies become end of draft picks for keepers, meaning that no real draft capital for rookie keepers as long as you keep them on your team. The bottom line is that in heavy QB rookie classes, let's just say draft classes on those types of years, these rookies are never out there on the wire, meaning that the player pool and waiver wire is a little bit smaller, but it's not impossible. It's still a single quarterback league. And here's the thing. What ends up happening with your league, and especially on a week where I'm seeing a note, Justin Fields going to be out for week 3. Going to be out. It's going to be Taylor. So he's out. Brock Purdy, very likely out. I'm already in my mind ruling him out there. I hope, because Mac Jones was one of the players that I picked up. You've got multiple guys. Daniels, we don't know about him at this point with the knee sprain. We'll have to see about that. The bottom line is, and I'll bring this up to you so you can kind of see some of the other players here who are a little bit banged up. There are a lot of quarterbacks that are down right now, including we have to bake into Joe Burrow as well. And so because of that, whether it's waivers, which I'm sure some of you have experienced already, or even in the trade market, unfortunately, you're not at that leverage point if you lost one of those quarterbacks. That's the problem. You're going to have to spend maybe more fab if you have, because here's how I'm handling it. In the 2 leagues that I lost Burrow, I have not made a trade just yet. One of the leagues where I already have was surprisingly Ayuk on my IR. I dropped Burrow in that league. This is a casual 10-team league, 12-team league. I drop Burrow because, again, my team in that league, so probably my 2 Joe Burrow leagues, even before the Burrow injury, already kind of playing from behind. So because of that, I ended up picking up not 1, but 2 quarterbacks there, releasing that spot to see who I like, who works out. You don't have to strike oil and have the guy off waivers and that's your guy for the rest of the year. No, it's not how streaming works. Think of even for the next few weeks, but even survival of the next week. Now, a lot of people will tell you, and analysts will tell you that you don't roster more than 1 quarterback. Well, in this case, if you're not going to make the trade, because unless you have an insane amount of depth, you are in a bad position to be trading if you lost Joe Burrow for a quarterback at this point. Case in point, I got a trade offer this morning, and this is probably going to turn into a whole other tirade, and I will, by the way, answer your questions after this. This morning, I get a trade because I'm thinking, what the hell am I going to do in this particular league and in a few leagues out there, in a lot of casual leagues? I know that there are participants that hold multiple quarterbacks. 2, maybe I even see 3 in one of my leagues. 3, that's right, in my family league. Multiple teams holding 3. That's going to be hard for me to make up right there. But it's not impossible. It's not. And that's because there's an obsession out there. And I feel like analysts especially are divided on how to value the quarterback spot. I feel like there are 2 camps. Every week on a weekly basis, they view how the quarterback did based on the rest of the field. Meaning, let's just say it was an amazing week for passing, an amazing week for quarterbacks. And your fill-in quarterback now for Joe Burrow gets about 22, 23 fantasy points. Well, to those analysts that view it against the rest of the field in an amazing week, let's say that that quarterback finishes number 11, number 12. Well, that's considered a loss right there. That's how some analysts view it. Others view it as they think of a certain point total that they'd want them to hit, a goal, almost like a projection right there. And then if they hit it, okay, at least he salvaged a decent week right there. I'm more in that camp because I'm not really into analyzing my matchup. Oh, my quarterback versus my opponents, my running back 1 versus their running back 1, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because then you get down to the flex options where are you really judging someone's running backs if they're starting an extra 1 or even 2 if they're multiple flexes? The bottom line is in these situations, if you have a fill-in quarterback and they get you to that 20-point mark, which is what I look for to consider it a good week, especially for a fill-in, I'm thrilled at 20 points. That's what you need to help limit the damage, limit the downside from losing a Joe Burrow too much. The rest of your team can help make up for it. That's why you draft the way we draft. That's why we read all the content at fantasyguru.com. And it's because the rest of your team, your key pickups, your Ayomanors from Tennessee, those guys right there, you read us at fantasyguru.com. And that's where you help protect your team, even when you lose someone like Joe Burrow. To me, I'll even say this in single quarterback leagues, losing a quarterback, especially early, if this were week 14, this would suck. Absolutely. You now have a lot of time to make up for it. And you don't necessarily need your fill-in quarterback or even a trade everything to get someone that's going to arguably match Joe Burrow or what Joe Burrow should be doing for your team, 25, 30 points, whatever you have in your mind. So there are ways to stream because I got offered a trade in this league. And again, I said in this particular league, rookies are end of draft keepers. So I'm not keeping someone for a 4th round pick or whatever. Nothing like that. You just got to keep them on your team. I got offered Rashad Bateman and Kyler Murray for, and again, this guy knows that I lost Joe Burrow, for Nico Collins and Big Bill, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Come on, man. Come on. Get the hell out of here with that. And that's the other thing with trades. That's the other part of this whole thing. Why I'm trying to get out and dig myself out of these holes by streaming instead of trading. Because I get an offer just like that. And there are too many offers that are just like that. I've had to sit here for years because I'm someone that does love the season-long game in fantasy. Not only for football, for basketball, I love it. For baseball, I love it. Hockey, I like it. At bottom line, and there's golf season-long leagues and all, but the biggest complaint I hear from the next generation, the young Gen Zers, and I'm not trying to hate, it's what you want. That's how we survive doing what we do, making sure we're listening to what you want. But that's the thing, the focus now on betting, instant gratification, DFS, same day. People don't have the patience to do season long. Well, let me tell you this. One of the reasons why when it comes to for season long and everything like that, you talk about not wanting to spend too much time on your teams and this and that. Well, it's a complete waste of time. If you send someone a stupid jerk off trade that doesn't benefit you whatsoever, completely rips you off, and then when you write a note being like, what is this? Oh, it's a starting point. Screw that. Screw it. That's not someone that's looking to do business with you. That's someone that's just trying to fleece you. That's not a starting point. That's a ripoff. That's a ripoff right there. That's why I can't stand trading. I'm not fully against it. I just don't prefer it. I'm looking to stream. Daniel Jones is out there. Go get him. You have to grab two, even if your favorite analyst says you shouldn't be rostering two quarterbacks right now. If you have a league and you're looking team by team, and you're seeing the majority of your league have multiple quarterbacks, stashing multiple quarterbacks, then at the end of the day, because that's the position I'm in, then I'm going to go in on a couple of quarterbacks. It's one thing when you draft a Lamar Jackson, then drafting someone like a Jared Goff late is stupid. But at the same time, if you lose Joe Burrow and most of your league is stashing two or three quarterbacks, then yes, then it's okay to pick up a couple of guys. That's what I did. I got Daniel Jones. I got Mac Jones. We'll see about Purdy. I got Daniel Jones for now. Look good. I came into this show last week kind of worried as hell. Worried as hell about Daniel Jones going into the Denver game. Completely worried. And look what happened. 316, a couple of touchdowns. Yeah, one of them on his own volition, but then no interceptions. A solid week. 6 points per passing touchdown, a near 25-point week. If I get that from him in, let's say, 3 of the next 4 matchups, that's a win. That's a stream. Let's just say, let's look at Daniel Jones' schedule. Okay, look, he just got the best of Denver. I'm very in on Denver. I'm very impressed by the Broncos there. Okay, now you get next up for Daniel Jones, Tennessee, the Rams, and Vegas. Okay, Tennessee will be interesting. I think the Rams, let's just say their offense is really pouring it on. Well, you know what? Daniel Jones is going to have to throw a lot, so I'm liking that. That's the thing. Even in matchups that aren't necessarily looking as appetizing, if they're going to throw, then now you could be, well, Fensty. Well, I even spend draft capital because if Daniel Jones is still out there, he might cost me more in fab, where maybe I can go after a Jake Browning. Now, is Jake Browning someone that you can look at for a long term, even 2, 3, 4 weeks? I'm not so sure. And that's where, for me, Jake Browning is, if I miss on Daniel Jones, if I miss on Mac Jones, very impressive, by the way. Very impressive, Mac Jones. I was just floored that he was able to do what he was able to do. Now, look, still the thing with the 49ers is he's a little bit banged up. Not Mac Jones. The team is banged up. Juwan Jennings, still banged up. And now you're going after Arizona here. I mean, that's not going to be as easy of a match, but it's very doable. And that's someone, again, he had in 6 points per pass touchdowns, 27 points. He hits me 18 to 20. I'm happy with that. Again, the reason why 20 for me for a replacement like Mac Jones, I'm fine with. I can now focus on the rest of my team and not necessarily matching quarterback for quarterback, not necessarily going, okay, well, Mac Jones this week got 20 points, 12th quarterback, ranked quarterback, not good to me, or 14th ranked quarterback, not great. Okay, is it 30 points? No, but how about the rest of your team? How did they do? That's how I kind of view things at this point. For me, if I lose Bijan Robinson and I don't have the handcuffed or anything like that and I lose out, that's one thing. If I lose Bijan Robinson, I went hero running back, let's just say, or anchor RB, and now I really don't have anyone else, okay, that is going to be very difficult to make up. Absolutely. But when it comes to quarterbacks, yes, if you drafted Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, anytime you lose any of those guys that you pay absolute pretty penny meaningful draft capital for, it sucks. But that doesn't mean your season is over. But the worst thing you can do is make a stupid trade out of desperation like the one I presented you. That's the worst thing you can do. Unless you have an insane amount of depth. And even then, I'd be careful. Because there are guys that are going to have good matchups. Again, the team doesn't have to perform well for your quarterback to have a good fantasy day. Defense could suck, but they could still be, even if it's a 15-point game, they could still be throwing and throwing and throwing. That's good for us. That's very good for us. And yes, every week, Tyler Beaker puts out his waiver wire article. You're on it. You're reading it. You're looking at your league constantly. You're looking out there, by the way, Sunday mornings, if you have an open roster spot, someone that you're just keeping just for the hell of it that you don't really need, and you see a quarterback that maybe was dropped on Thursday, let's just say, or even Wednesday. Now you're looking Sunday and you're like, hey, I'm still streaming. It's not a good matchup for this guy. I doubt Trevor Lawrence is out there, but let's just say Trevor Lawrence is out there. Okay, just using him as an example. You're looking and looking. Okay, maybe you pick him up and stash him for the next week. Because we don't know who else can go down here. This is the problem with the quarterback spot. Because the trade market's already cornered. Because for this week and the immediacy, there are a lot of issues right here. You don't have J.J. McCarthy. You don't have Justin Fields. You don't have Joe Burrow. Brock Purdy, very likely out. You've got multiple guys. Jaden Daniels might be out. You got to be preparing for this stuff right now. So that's a way to do it. I'm fine in those cases with Joe Burrow where you're not trading an arm and a leg to protect your depth. I'm fine with picking up two quarterbacks in these kinds of situations. I don't necessarily want two quarterbacks, but I want to see what works. I want to see if I can get to build a bridge for a few weeks, and then maybe there's somebody else out there that has some soft matchups. The good thing about all this is by the time we hit week 6, week 7, you're all of a sudden you're approaching halfway through the season. We know what these teams are about by now. We know their tendencies. We know their patterns. So before making a stupid desperation trade again, and this is a league with a bunch of savvy people in it, maybe not this person, but when I message back, this is an insulting offer. I try to be somewhat classy and not just say go screw or anything like that, but that was an insulting offer. And yeah, I know so what? You don't think I read the news? Okay, oh man, the Texans have been so bad. Let me just trade Nico Collins for nothing. Rashad Bateman will make up for him. Yeah, I'll get Kyler Murray, and then I'll have his up game and his few down games, and then his up game and his few down games. It's okay. I'll protect my wide receiver depth. I'll protect my running back depth. And what I did was I picked up both Joneses. Kind of surprised, all things considered, that I was able to get both of them. But that's how I'm going to handle it. And each week, by the way, in these leagues, because I know there are a few of you that have Burrow, and maybe you have a quarterback that has yet to be injured, I'm going to go over streaming options each and every week. And Rich Mileto does a streamers article at fantasyguru.com. He normally joins me every single Wednesday. Not today, though, but we'll talk. We'll make sure we're talking streaming every single week. Now, if you have one of those high-end quarterbacks, even in a really hard matchup, the reason why you drafted Jalen Hurts the way you did, the reason why Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, you're starting them no matter what. Best of the best, you're starting them. So don't make the stupid trade just because you feel now in a single quarterback league that, oh my God, and I'm talking single quarterback leagues here, not super flex, not two quarterbacks. I mean, two quarterback starting leagues. You talk about the trade market, they're going to be protecting them like they're diamonds. You talk about trading an arm and a leg, you will lose all of your depth trading for a quarterback in those leagues, unless someone is literally stashing 4 or 5, which you never know. Maybe they are. That's who you look for, and you look for their, I don't know, third best guy, and maybe they give you somewhat of a deal and not realize, oh, this guy's really desperate right here. This player's really desperate right here. So that's why, because I've received multiple trades, bad trades. And when you trade with someone, it doesn't start with, I'm going to send you a piece of crap offer. I'm going to send you a rip-off deal. No, that's a waste of time. Like Ben Affleck said in Boiler Room, don't waste my freaking time. All right? That's the thing. Act as if you want to make a trade. Act as if you want to do business. Act as if you're an NFL GM for a second and you're looking to make a deal. Don't waste our time, because when I see a trade like that, you don't want to do business. You want to try to fleece at that point. Offer me another offer. Okay, so brings up the offer, by the way, for still both of those guys. This is after I send the message that this was an insulting offer. Replaces Rashad Bateman with DJ Moore. How much am I going to have to squeeze this person going back and forth before even? No, I don't want to deal with that. I want someone that wants to work with me. I talked about this last week. When it comes to the art of trading, the best trades are where both win. I know that in everybody's mind, you have to win the trade on paper. And then at the end of this, you have to be able to tell yourself, I dominated the trade. I know how to make a trade. I'm a great GM. No, a great GM trades out of need, not desire. A great GM knows where they're weak. And if they've got an insane amount of wide receivers and they've got nothing at running back, they trade one of their top 2 wide receivers to get that cornerstone running back. You might have just lost the deal on paper. You could be trading a wide receiver you draft in the 2nd round for a running back who's all of a sudden performing well, getting the volume, good matchups coming up that you drafted in the 5th round. Who gives a damn? Not trying to get you all ripped off here, but still, this is what happens. People get desperate. When it happens in week 2, you can build a bridge. I know it's hard. And if you're in a super flex, I don't blame you for freaking out. Then, yeah, maybe you're looking to make a trade, but then you're going to be weak in other areas. You're making another hole in your boat. And that's why, for me, streaming quarterbacks in single QB leagues, it's winnable. You can win by doing so. So at this point, here's the thing. And like Ethan's asking me here, drop Fields or Dak for Jones. I mean, if you're really that desperate, I mean, if this is not a 1 quarterback league, then yeah, you can look at Jones. But to me, if it's a 1 quarterback league, Fields and Jones right now, pretty similar to me. To me, it's an irrelevant move because you're going to start Dak anyway. That's the thing. If you have Dak Prescott, and Ethan, I'm glad you brought this up, because if you have Dak Prescott, again, I know the market is what it is. But you don't necessarily need that 2nd quarterback if you're in that regard. You know that you're going to be starting Dak. If it is in, let's just say, super flex league, I don't see it being that way, you having this decision there. So I just stand pat at this point because, look, Justin Fields, I know right now with the Jets, they're facing the Bills, okay? This Jets team, as they continue to lose people, because that's what this Jets team does. I mean, remember, the offense looked good against Pittsburgh. They were facing Buffalo. I know no Ed Oliver, and by the way, Ed Oliver going to be out tomorrow night too. Big for them. But at the end of the day, they're facing Buffalo. There was no way, and I got to give credit here to Jeff Mans for saying this on Elite Sports. New one man's opinion coming out this week, by the way. Drop it soon. Make sure you catch it at fantasyguru.com or wherever you get your podcast. But, even he was saying with the Jets, you'll have to be patient. And normally I wouldn't even talk about the Jets, but the Jets have been a big topic of conversation. I've been going on shows. Last week, I thought Breece Hall was the nuts when it came to a nice value running back on a very fair DraftKings pricing of running backs. And it didn't work out. Didn't work out at all. I thought he was going to run all over Buffalo. Nope. Barely. It seemed like he got barely any carries in that second half. And the Jets were just getting destroyed. And yeah, they weren't supposed to, I think because of how, and Jeff was saying this on the show, that first few weeks, be patient. You got to be patient with the Jets. Hard matchups. Pittsburgh, Buffalo. But then things start to get a little bit easier for them. Well, I think when we all saw just what this team could do, this Jets team did against the Steelers, putting up a ton of points against them, all of a sudden the excitement level raised and raised and raised. Then they faced Buffalo, and even before Fields went out, I mean, they weren't doing anything. So things will get better at some point. So that's why, for me, I'm not making that drop because I've got Dak there and I'm keeping it right there. So just, again, the big lesson of this is don't make that really ridiculous, stupid desperation trade. It's different in Superflex and 2-quarterback. At that point, I mean, look, if Jake Browning's throwing and throwing and throwing, then it's funny because I think about someone like a Jameis Winston who will throw interception after interception after interception back in the starter days. But you knew he was going to be throwing and throwing and throwing 30 plus, and then some of those will become touchdowns. That's what we could be looking at here with Jake Browning. And I'm not saying, oh, pick up Browning, you'll be good, it'll be just like Burrow. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not. It makes me worried. But in regards, because I've gotten a lot of questions about Joe Burrow, because I went on these airwaves, by the way, as you could see, Elite Sports Game Time, me and Russell Clay, 6 p.m. Eastern every single Sunday. We'll be on SiriusXM Channel 87. I was freaking out a little bit. I was on tilt. I was on tilt week 1 because I had Broncos in Survivor and they were on the ropes. Week 2, I lost Joe Burrow. But immediately, you just start game planning. And yeah, you can, I'm not anti-trading. I'm good with trading if I can find a trade partner that wants to help me fill that need, not one that wants to rip me the hell off. I had a full other focus show plan, and then I got this trade offer and another trade offer in my other league from Burrow, and I'm just through the roof right now. And I'm sure there are a lot of you out there that are into just proposing deals just to get the conversation rolling. No. That's like in auctions when you nominate Jamar Chase for $1. Stop. He's not going for under 50. At least speed it up. Start the bidding at 35. I talked about that during training camp because everybody's biggest complaint with fantasy sports these days, it takes too much time. Well, you know what? It's a waste of time when you're proposing stupid desperation trades. And by the way, if the person that proposed that trade to me is watching this right now, sorry, I'm not sorry. You know better than that. You've been in this league a long time. Try to help your trade partner because then it'll be easier to do business with them. You don't have to rip them off and pile on top. I used to work for somebody a long time ago where it was like, oh, everything's great, but no, not good enough. Let's pile. And now we're all freaking out because we're trying to check every single box. Relax. Take it slow. Streaming works. Single quarterback leagues, streaming works. We're going to find you those gems. In a few weeks from now, we're going to have that consistency. We're going to figure out who's for real and who's not. Like the old Jadakiss song, which, by the way, preview for you, you will be hearing that song for those that are into 2000s hip-hop. Little Jadakiss throwback right there. Who's real, who's not. He's phony, she's fake. That's the type of people I hate, for those that remember back in the day. Going to be doing a fun little segment on that with Russell Clay this weekend because now, or by then, we'll have 3 weeks under our belt. Now we can start to look at the trends a little bit more. We can start to see who we should be truly investing in on the waiver wire. I mentioned Ayomanor. Ayomanor is someone that I was looking at in DFS last week. This week, by the way, you still look at his price, and it's very, very soft. And I like that very much here. And again, for me, when looking, because what I do is I kind of start, because I put my dummy lineups in, because this year, one of the things, and on one of these weeks, I want to get Mark Hogan on from fantasyguru.com to talk about this, the importance of contest selection. I always only play in single entry. You're nuts if you play in multi-entry. I don't think of the Millie Maker. No, I don't. I play one cash. I play one single entry GPP. And this year, my goal, because contest selection is very important, I've been learning a little bit from Mark Hogan about this. I try to play in contests that max out at about 2,500 people. That's what I'm trying to do there. So if I'm playing the GPPs, that's where I'm not looking in these 20,000 people contests. No, that's where I'm looking, because trying to get better when it comes to NFL with GPPs and DFS. So I've got this lineup right here, right now, and I'm tinkering a little bit, and Ayomanor is still sub 4K. And this is just somebody, okay, week number 1, Surtain Ridley, okay, you can chalk that up a little bit. They need to throw to somebody, and it's going to be him. Quite frankly, when it comes to who to throw to, because this is somebody else that I was very into and am very into, but I am wondering whether or not Tony Pollard will be utilized a little bit more in the passing attack too. And it makes me also think about when it comes to the Titans, when Spears is ready to come back, whenever the hell that is in weeks from now, because we know that he catch passes back in the backfield, that maybe Pollard's touches will be protected just a little bit more. But when it comes to this Titans team and Cam Ward, I want to see what this offense can do. And so I'm chasing the targets here. Ayomanor has had 13 targets through the first 2 weeks. This is someone that I'm not thinking, the whole season he's going to be great here. I want to see more than 2 receptions, 4 receptions. I want to see those. But got into the end zone last time and targeted 7 times in week 1 against tough Denver. Now they go through a string of opponents, Tennessee, where the offense and the passing attack can be very successful. I mean, you're facing teams like Houston. You're facing teams like Arizona, Vegas, New England. I mean, you're facing all these teams here, and it'll be interesting to see what Ayomanor can do against them, especially 6+ targets for a guy like him. I'm fine with him in season long, but if I'm going to really build stars versus scrubs, and I'm still deciding how I'm going to do that this week, right now, as it stands, hell, I'm just messing with things right now. My lineup, I thought about screenshotting it, and I clearly did not do that. But right now I have a lineup in, and again, single entry $5 contest, GPP, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb. I try to interlock quarterback with one of their pass catchers, really try to do that. McCaffrey, Ken Walker right now. And then this is where the wide receivers are interesting. And again, this is in a final lineup here. But right now, I've got Rome Odunze against Dallas. I love that Dallas-Chicago matchup for offense. I'm loving it for both sides there. Odunze, what a nice connection he is with Caleb Williams to start right there. Definitely able to find him in the end zone. And then I went a little bit value with Ayomanor, who I mentioned before, and Romeo Doubs. And now with no Jane Reed, Doubs becomes very critical, and something that Jeff was saying, by the way, and again, 2 p.m. Eastern for Elite Sports on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, Dontavian Wicks also is somebody that becomes very interesting in this offense. That, is it a hodgepodge? It absolutely is. And has Dobbs been getting targeted a lot? No, he hasn't. Do I think that changes? Yes, I do. So there are going to now be more open targets and opportunities to go around here. And with Packers going up against Cleveland, I'm thinking that Dobbs will be all right. I'm still, if there's anyone in this lineup, because I have Juwan Johnson in there too, that I might switch out, it is Dobbs at this point. I'm still figuring out defenses for this week. Naturally, Green Bay, very appetizing. Juwan Johnson, by the way, which so far, I mean, used him in week 1 in DFS. Great call by Jeff Mans there. And then week 2, once again, I went back to him. I mean, the guy has 20 targets here. Who else? I mean, Olave getting targeted a lot. He's getting targeted a lot. Pretty direct right here when it comes to the Saints. And here's the interesting thing. Now, you could say you can have the kind of mentality that I think a lot of us had with the Jets last week. Oh, they're facing Buffalo. They're going to be behind. They're going to have to throw. But they are the Saints facing Buffalo here. So we'll have to see if Rattler can have a little bit more success than Fields had before he got hurt. So that's where with Juwan Johnson, and that's week 4. But week 3, they're facing Seattle. And, dude, that matchup is a solid matchup for Juwan Johnson. It's going to be very highly owned. And even looking at that price there and seeing what he's at, highly owned, but somebody that I feel like is still in range and someone that if you're not going to be spending up on the tight end spot, that's someone that I'm definitely going to put in a couple of my lineups that I have. Juwan Johnson is 3,900 on DraftKings. By the way, I play mainly on DraftKings. I feel like I just get the vibe there better. I feel like I just do a little bit better on there. But to give you guys a little bit of a price range right here, Juwan Johnson's 3,900. Even guys like Ferguson and Njoku, Ertz, Tyler Warren, nice start for him. And then, of course, Bauer, McBride, even Kraft on the main slate, all priced up higher than him. Again, 20 targets for Juwan Johnson to start. And now facing Seattle, another game where I'm liking both sides of this. In fact, for those that are streaming and very desperate right there, and this is where, okay, you have to be pretty desperate, but the matchup is very intriguing. If you're missing on all those targets I talked about before, Mac and Daniel Jones, you're missing out on, let's just say, if Lawrence happens to be out there, which in a lot of leagues he's not. Same with Daniel Jones too. You want to take a shot on Browning too, but there are other guys that you could look to take a shot on as well that are out there. And even taking a look at some of these DFS options here, then you can look at the quarterbacks that I'm looking at that are a little bit below. If you want to go after a Caleb Williams for 5,600 against Dallas, not a bad value right there. I'm thinking that this Chicago offense is going to figure things out a little bit more. They're able to put up points. That's the thing. They scored 20 plus in both games. So it's just really stopping the bleeding on the other side a little bit. But that's somewhere where I'm going to look Caleb Williams. And then maybe Caleb and Rome become my hookup right there instead of Dak and CeeDee Lamb, which I currently have in my flex. By the way, I meant to look this up before. I'm looking at some of the target leaders right now when it comes to the tight end position and looking at the tight end spot, the target leaders. I mean, Ertz sitting there with 13 to tell you where he's at compared to Juwan Johnson's price, more on DraftKings than Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson has 20 targets on the year, more than any other tight end. 3,900 on DraftKings. I am all about that. Armando Marsal, what's going on? Make sure you check out Mind of Marsal podcast. Comes out twice a week. Armando also joins Ray Flowers every single Tuesday on Fantasy Sports Daily here to talk about waivers and whatnot. And you can find Armando in our Discord, always site manager, content provider, does a little bit of everything, has as much position eligibility in Fantasy Guru as Ben Zobrist did in baseball back in the day. Ray Flowers, if you're watching, that one's for you right there. Again, Ray is on. The reason I'm on Wednesdays, not on Wednesdays, my day to do the stream here, but Ray will be heard with Jeff Mans on Elite Sports, 2 p.m. Eastern today. Still doing all the baseball content, getting ready for those playoffs right there. Very interested, by the way. Being a New York Mets fan is like a full-time job. They rip your heart right out of your ass every single year, it seems like. And then when they go on a run, it's completely unexpected. So you got to enjoy that right there. Angelo, good to talk to you. Good to see you as well. Doing chores? Yes, I am always listening to sports content when I'm doing chores because, to be honest, it helps you forget about the chores that you're actually doing, because who wants to spend literally 25 minutes because your dishwasher isn't drying everything off, even with the dryer setting? Who wants to spend 25 minutes taking from the dishwasher, then drying the freaking bowls and stuff like that? Loving that. It's funny, our dishwasher is broken right now. Our dishwasher completely broken, and we've been using paper plates and bowls and plastic utensils. It's been the greatest thing. It's been like we're like kind of chore free, and then it's almost we're so spoiled that when we gotta watch like the little like kids cup or something we have for the kids or a bottle for the baby, it's almost like, oh man, we have to wash this one whole bottle now. It's been great. Might not go back. I'm sorry, environmentalists. I'm sorry. But things can become a little bit easier in life. That's a great thing. That's a great thing, even for a little bit. So hey, put the trade in if you need a little bit of help about a trade. Just put it in the chat right here, and I'll get to it before I leave. So Juwan Johnson, someone who's very cheap when it comes to DFS. Ayomanor is someone else that I'm going to be looking at once again in my build. Some of the other quarterbacks I mentioned, Dak Prescott, trying to lock him in with CeeDee Lamb, just thinking they're going to go ham against Chicago. Loving that matchup on both sides. In fact, when you look at some of the high total games and when creating my lineups, this is kind of how it starts right here. I look at those totals here that are going to be on the board. Now, when it comes to some of your highest totals, unfortunately, they are in your primetime games, but that Dallas-Chicago game is ripe, let me tell you. Ripe. And you'll see a lot of people still be going in on Pickens right there and Dak. I like that very much. By the way, for those out there, I bet you had a survivor pool where half your pool had Dallas because Baltimore and Dallas were like the two popular picks of the week. Everyone's sweating out that Dallas overtime game right there. Oh, it's always very great when like most of the majority chooses a team and boom, week 2, they're gone. That's what makes it very interesting with survivor pools right there. Love me some survivor pools. Love me some guillotine leagues as well. Getting a lot of questions in Discord about guillotine leagues too. So those are a lot of fun. They're becoming insanely more popular. It's funny because when I played in my first guillotine league, Phil Backert's guillotine league, which was 2018, 2019, I already thought they were kind of popular. And it was just my first time on the boat right there. Now, very, very popular, a lot of fun. Meanwhile, some of the other guys that I'm going to be going with here are some of the other guys that are doing well when it comes to targets, but we have to watch out for. And this is someone who is kind of like given a gift right here because of the Chiefs' health and also personnel issues, let's just say. When you look at Marquise Brown, for instance, as someone that I'm going to continue to keep on the bench and to even look to start, he is getting targeted a lot. And it's great to see because this was someone who, look, when you want an investment in Kansas City's offense, you can either spend up or you could try to go after one in case maybe there is an injury. And I know you can't really play like that, but for a dollar value player, that's where you take a shot. Hollywood Brown was targeted a ton in week 1. Week 2, 5 receptions on 5 targets. That's it. But now has a nice string of matchups because there's not facing the Eagles this week, going after the Giants, division foe of the Eagles right there. So he's got a lot of matchups coming up where they're going to have to throw. Baltimore is going to be a throw fest. Jacksonville is going to throw. Detroit going to have to throw a lot. So Patrick Mahomes is going to get that arm ready, and Hollywood Brown is going to be able to benefit from that. So that's someone who on the team right now, I know following up a 16-target monster game. It's tough when it's 5 for 5, but you got to look at the opponent as well in Philadelphia. They're the champs for a reason. So that's why, for me, Hollywood Brown is someone that I'm still looking to keep on my bench and willing to be patient with. I'm a target chaser at this point. That's what I'm looking for. But again, you've got to make sure that you're looking to see the division of targets because with Hollywood Brown and 16 targets, absolutely insane, a very rare feat right there that you're going to see from other players. So you got to maybe take that into consideration and just be careful, especially when valuing these guys in trades. Now, again, when it comes to making trades, for those that lost Joe Burrow, don't sell the farm. There's got to be somebody out there for you. And it stinks because you got to focus on the waivers because you've got other quarterbacks that are going to be out too. Like I said before at the top of the show, we actually got the news that Justin Fields suffered a concussion late in that Buffalo game. He's not going to play here in week 3, so that's already him out right there. Now, according to a report I'm seeing right now, Jaden Daniels is going to be very, very questionable because we don't know if we're going to be seeing him practice until the 11th hour or not. And that's where you're going to have to prepare yourself. Once again, a knee sprain. And I've been reading some reports there. And also I live in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And sometimes I'm not like, oh, well, my sources tell me. But sometimes I can send a text to a person or two and ask, what the hell is going on with this? But in a game, if let's say Washington feels that they're going to be in total control here, then why risk it at this point? I mean, they're facing the Raiders. They should be able to handle business, but at the end of the day, see why they want Daniels in there. But we don't know if we're going to see Daniels practice here. From what I'm seeing, might not practice until Friday. So we're going to have to keep it in tune to see if he ends up playing or not. A knee sprain sounds like he should be out. Kind of, I don't want to say a story that didn't get talked about, but I want to say of all that had happened, and especially when you lose a player like Joe Burrow and who had already gotten the MRI because the Bengals have that machine in the facility right there. So at the time, it's, oh, what's the worst of Joe Burrow? But then kind of underneath that, some of the other sub-storylines includes Daniels with that late knee sprain. So now we're going to have to see what ends up happening with that. So for those with Joe Burrow, don't think about, oh, I got to trade. You focus on the waiver wire. You focus grabbing someone that you can potentially stream, maybe even 2 quarterbacks. That way, in case you're unsure, you could go week by week because that's how you could do it. I know it's the hard way, but if you make that trade for a quarterback and you surrender depth, now you've got other problems. Now you've got other depth that you have to fill. So it's either you look to stream the quarterback and you play the matchups. We find a quarterback we can use for a few weeks, and then we move on. It doesn't have to be, I need this to be the guy for the season. We don't have that luxury as Burrow owners anymore. We don't. We have to be thinking for this week, for the next few weeks, if you're putting some meaningful capital in there. That's how you have to be thinking. And with that in mind, again, at Fensty Sports, FENSTY Sports on X and Instagram. It's always great talking to you. I know I sometimes come across as a little preachy, but I just don't want us wasting our time. I don't want us making bad trades. We're an elite mafia. We're a family. We stick together. And that's why I don't want to see anybody get ripped off, especially out of desperation. Happens to all of us. I get these trades too. I absolutely get these trades. So what are my thoughts on A.J. Brown? Kyle's wondering. I mean, I have A.J. Brown. It's funny. I have A.J. Brown on that Joe Burrow team. And trust me, I'm 0-2 right now, and I'm just singing the blues. I'm not giving up on A.J. Brown. I'm not undervaluing him in trades or anything like that. I mean, if anything, don't focus necessarily on what he didn't do against Kansas City. Focus on how many looks he got. 8 targets. I'm fine with that. What happened the week before? Okay, it's week 1, opening night. It happens. You have to expect that your top receivers even are going to have a down game or two. But the worst thing we can do is give up on someone like A.J. Brown this early. I'm not doing that. So, Kyle, that is where I'm sitting right here. Johnston versus Coleman, for me, a little bit more on Johnston. Very close right there, Kyle, but I'm going with Johnston there. So with that in mind, you can find me at fantasyguru.com. Basketball, for those hoop heads out there, Fensty's Campfire Chats returning. October 1st will be the first one. I'll be talking with anyone about whatever you want basketball in our Discord. I'll let you know where I'm at. You'll get plenty of notifications. Make sure you're part of our Discord as part of the site too. That's where it's all happening, hanging out, questions being answered too in the many Discord rooms. But I'm going to do a nice little campfire chat with all of you talking about the teams. And if you want NBA content too, even more than that, Fensty's Basketball Diaries podcast. Every Thursday it drops on the Elite Plus Network at fantasyguru.com. Make sure you subscribe. I talk futures. I talk teams. I talk players. I just had my rookie dynasty drafts. And should I let you know who I got? I will let you know on Fensty's Basketball Diaries. What a tease right there. Make sure you check it out. It'll drop tomorrow. Ray Flowers will be back tomorrow as well. Normally on Thursdays, he has Tyler Beaker joining him. Talk a little football, also a little bit of baseball too, getting close to those playoffs. Love me some MLB playoffs. Make sure you catch Elite Sports on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio all week long, 2 p.m. Eastern. Jeff will be on with Ray Flowers today. And then Jeff was also on Sunday mornings where Russ and I handle the evenings, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern every Sunday for Elite Sports Game Time. Well, fantasy football pregame, 11 a.m. Eastern every Sunday. Jeff Mans and Bob Harris. Great being with all of you. Tomorrow we'll be back in action. Same time, same place, same Mafia, noon Eastern. Fantasy Sports Daily right here on the Elite Plus Network, part of Fantasy